Part of the Canada Revenue Agency's mandate, and I don't think this will come as a surprise to anyone, is to ensure that people are complying with Canada's tax laws. But what's the best way of going about doing this? If you were to look at the traditional economic explanation of crime, you'd say, well, people cheat on their taxes because the benefits of doing so outweigh the risk of getting caught. So therefore, if I want people to behave more honestly on their taxes, I should be increasing the cost of tax cheating. In other words, doing more audits, increasing penalties, things like that. Now, this is a very nice and simple theory, but does it tell the whole story? In reality, tax compliance in Canada is quite high. So high, in fact, that it seems implausible that the economic explanation is the only factor going into it. It seems like there are other factors that people take into account when they decide to pay their taxes every year, be it patriotism, fairness, morality, other reasons. So perhaps there's things we can do to keep these people on track without resorting to more punitive measures like audits, but instead focus on internal motivators that to get them to pay their taxes. And this is what the CRA's Assessment, Benefit and Service branch wanted to look at when they approached us here in the lab about collaborating on this project. And the inspiration for it came from research that suggests that people are less likely to cheat on something if you prompt them to behave honestly beforehand. So we looked at the T1 return. This is the tax and benefit return that Canadians file every year to see if there were changes that could be made to get people to think about honesty before they started filling out their taxes. We began by looking at the signature block on the T1 return. This asks the taxpayer to certify that the information they're providing is accurate. And like on most forms, you'll find it all the way in the back on the last page and a little bit tucked away. So this may not be the ideal spot to ask people to make this sort of declaration, because by then any cheating would have already occurred. So we decided to make a number of changes to try to draw attention to the signature block and make it more salient. We enlarged it, we simplified the wording, we highlighted the fact that it is a serious offense to make a false return, and we asked people to not just sign their name, but to print it as well. Most importantly, though, we moved it from the back of the form to the top of the first page. And once we had the design of the modified form, the next step was getting it into the hands of a sample of Canadian taxpayers. Because T1 returns are distributed through post offices, complete randomization was not possible for this experiment. Instead, we selected 2 cities in Ontario to carry 14,000 modified T1 returns at their post offices in early 2016. Of these, about 5,500 were filled out and sent back to the CRA. We're now just getting the results in from these modified T1 forms. And the next step will be to look at them in comparison to a control group made up of taxpayers who received the normal T1 form. And from there, we'll be looking at year-over-year changes in reporting behavior to see if there's any difference. But ultimately, regardless of whether we find if there are any differences or not, we hope that this project will contribute to a better understanding of the factors that go into tax compliance and help inform work going on at the agency in this area in the future.